Hello there, fellow captains. This is Sorvesteon coming to you from Naval Action. And I'm starting a new series. I'm going to be talking about crafting and all things related to it. It's just way too much to cover in one video. So I'm going to be splitting it up and I'm going to be covering different things in different videos. In this video, I'm going to be going over labor hours. Now, labor hours are a core crafting resource in the game. As you can see here, when you come over into the crafting tab, I have currently 1,350 labor hours. These you accumulate at a set amount over a given time, and you need that basically to do anything related to crafting. Whether it be shipbuilding, whether it be just making some components, or whether it be manufacturing upgrades. Everything requires labor hours. And this is what limits you when in making things in the game. Resources are not really a problem. You can go around and you can get as many resources as you want. However, if you don't have the labor hours to turn those resources into useful components, and you don't have the labor hours to build ships and so forth, then you can't really do anything. And so labor hours limit how quickly you can craft things in Naval Action. So, like I said, I have 1,350 labor hours. You get 1,000 labor hours per day. Roughly, I think it's 42 per hour. Updates on the hour, every hour. As your crafting level increases, see mine is 27 right now, the maximum pool of labor hours that you are allowed to have will increase. I believe the maximum will increase by about 20 labor hours every level. So what that means is, if you're at crafting level 1, you can only have a maximum of 1,000 labor hours. So that's basically 1 day's worth of labor hours. So if you happen to be away from the game for more than 1 day, once you reach 1,000 labor hours, you will stop accumulating labor hours. And after that, having reached your maximum, you will not be able to accumulate any more than 1,000 labor hours. However, as you increase your crafting level, the maximum amount of labor hours that you are allowed to have will also increase, so you can be away from the game for a longer period of time without losing labor hours. I think mine is already up above 1,500 last time I checked. But if you're like me, most of the time you're not going to be away from the game for, a long period of time, although it is helpful, like if you have to move or something, or you get sick or whatever, then you're not losing your labor hours, and when you come back to the game, you'll be able to spend all the labor hours that you've accumulated over whatever duration you've been gone up to the maximum that you're allowed. Alright, so what can you use these for? Well, like I said, they're used for pretty much everything. If I go over to my resources, I have an oak log forest in this port. In order to get these oak logs out of my forests, I click on this, see 1 labor hour to get 1 oak log. If I want to get all the oak logs, 37 labor hours. So labor hours are used to extract resources from, or to collect resources from your buildings. So here I'm going to go and collect. Oh, it takes so long. Come on. There we go. Okay. And you can see my labor hours have gone down correspondingly. It's also used for crafting components. Oh, let's go over here. So I can craft some iron ingots. So if I move my slider up, it's going to cost 16 labor hours to get 32 iron ingots. Now if I go craft, now notice here, before I click craft, my experience, my crafting experience is 551. So if I mouse over the iron ingots blueprint, you can see that for each labor hour I put in, I basically get 1 experience. So I should move up to 567 experience after I click craft. Oh, the crafting takes so long. When you have a lot of stuff you're trying to craft, this takes forever. You know, that limit, right? Like I could only do 16 labor hours worth of iron ore. Oh gosh, you know, it takes so long. Anyways, but I digress. So my crafting level, or my crafting XP, has gone up by the corresponding amount of labor hours I've spent. Now that's not true for all the labor hours you spend. So if I go over to shipbuilding here, I go to a mid-grade note. My mid-grade note requires 200 labor hours. However, it only gives me 1 crafting XP. So not all things are equal when it comes to spending your labor hours. However, labor hours, or spending your labor hours, is the only way to get crafting experience and to increase your crafting level and therefore be able to have more labor hours. Note, you don't get more labor hours per hour. That's fixed at 42 labor hours per hour. Just the total maximum amount of labor hours you're allowed to accumulate increases. Shipbuilding, if I go over to shipbuilding, let's see here. I've already got all the materials prepped for a trader's cutter. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Let's go oak, because I've prepared everything. Yep, I've got all my components and resources ready. So here, 224 labor hours, but if I go over to the Trader's Cutter blueprint, it gives 536 crafting experience. So spending your labor hours to craft ships is a great way to move your craft, or to increase your crafting level. If I go craft, I have produced a Trader's Cutter. And I have lost a number of my labor hours. All right, there we go. Now, before I can craft any more, it looks like I'll have to get some more resources, and I'll have to clear up some room in my docks. So that is how labor hours work in the game, and that is how it affects the game. You'll find that a lot of crafters, especially those working on the larger ships, as you can see here, if we go to let's go to a frigate, 882 labor hours just for the frigate, not including all of the other fittings and materials and components that are required to make it. Now these small and medium carriages, if I go to manufacturing, medium carriage, there we go, 20 labor hours per medium carriage. If I wanted to make a whole lot of them, look at that, 320 labor hours per carriage. And if you wanted to make higher quality ships, like if I wanted to make a frigate, but a really good one, an exceptional one, I require 4 mid-grade notes, and to make 4 mid-grade notes would take up 800 labor hours. So not only that, but crafting all the components as well. So because you're limited in the amount of labor hours you get per day, what you'll find is a lot of the, hardcore or higher level crafters will actually pay people to use their labor hours. Now, how do you do this? Well, what you would do is you would get your friend or whoever you're going to get the labor hours from. You would give them the raw materials that you want crafted, and you would trade it to them. They would then craft it. Now, note that to do that, they also have to have the required crafting level in order to produce whatever you want to craft. So with a lot of these basic things like the barrels blueprint, for example, it requires a crafting level of 0, so no problem there. But if I wanted to produce something, let's say, let's go to shipbuilding. Yeah, like if I wanted to produce a mid-grade note, it has a required crafting level of 15. So that's the kind of the catch when it comes to selling your labor hours to other crafters, is that you also have to have the minimum crafting level in order to produce whatever they want you to produce with your labor hours. All right. So what does all this mean? Well, labor hours are essentially kind of the most valuable resource in the game right now, in the meta, you could say, because they are what limit each individual person's actions when it comes to crafting. You're not allowed to have alts on the same Steam account, so unless you have multiple Steam accounts, and you've purchased the game multiple times, and you have multiple computers to run them, you are going to be limited to just your one character and the 1,000 labor hours they get per day. Now, obviously, 1,000 labor hours is not enough to craft all the components from the raw resources, all the notes and carriages and so forth, and also to provide the labor hours to craft ships. So what these labor hours do is they make crafting larger or higher, like things that require a higher crafting level. So larger ships like Santisma or St. Pavel. It makes these kind of endeavors take multiple days, if not sometimes weeks. So that is basically everything you need to know about labor hours and how it affects crafting. The rest of the stuff, like, there's a lot more to crafting, and I'll talk about that in the next videos that I do on crafting. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos about naval action. And until next time, take care and happy sailing.